Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel again. I am just going to demonstrate how I do my textured oil paintings. They're a new series of work that I've developed. There's a previous video showing you how I developed them. I'm just going to show you them a bit more closely. So they're just highly textured work using very thick oil paints to do it. Dragged and layered across, so it's the oil paints that speak as much as the subject. I've done a number of sketches in order to get the colourways that I want. There was the previous one with the seagulls, which is a more joyous sunshine picture, and then I've tried different colourways to see what colourways I want to express. So these are oil paints on acrylic primed paper, painted in acrylics as an underground to give a background colour. In this case it was slightly pink, and then painted in oils. And I sketch in oils so that I can see how the oil paint is actually behaving. So I want to do a moody seascape. Possibly with a sort of imminent storm. So I've prepared a canvas board which was primed in acrylic primer and then painted with acrylics in a base colour, and onto this I will then paint with oils. I have all my oil paints in colour order in the plan chest beside me, and then I will get a clean glass palette on white piece of paper and get the colours out that I want, ready for mixing. There are a series of colours that I tend to use that I feel comfortable with, and I know the sort of tonalities they're going to bring, because I want it a bit grey and not the warm rich colours of summer. And a list of these colours will be on the details of the video below. So here are the colours I'm going to be using. Basically they are a mixture of cold blues, and here I'm mixing a green with a bit of raw sienna in order to have a colour that reflects the translucent quality of the water as it slips over the sand, and where the yellow warmth of the sand is allowed to come through the watercolour. Otherwise, I'll be mixing much more cold colours. Cold to reflect the stormy sky or the imminent rain. And for the foreground, I will mix some ultramarine red shade with some crimson lake. This is to give perspective through both tonality and colour. So that's the pure pigment from the tube, but I get a little pipette and soften some of this. So I take a couple of drops of the solvent with some purified linseed oil mixed in, and then it makes a softer, more malleable type of mix. So it's just a mixture of the buffs, the white, the blues, the Vandyke brown so far. So we're going to see where we go with that. And the blues I've kept quite green and moody, not reflecting a clear blue sky, but reflecting greys and imminent rain. Right, I'm just going to begin with some sort of a horizon, and this I can fix my hand in position and just drag it along using the edge of the easel. And now it's just a question of thinking about just what you want to put in there and how much you want to, what it is you're trying to say, because you want these beautiful colours to come through from underneath as well. Keep it free. So this is mainly solvent, not oil, but because this is going to be achieved in one go, then I can add oil to it at this point as well, because I'm not doing a thick on thin. I just want something that is going to dry consistently, you know, dry equally all the way through, because I'm not putting layers on. I don't have to think about the drying time of oils. If you are thinking about the drying time of oils, then you start off with thin oil paint, which would be diluted with complete solvent, no linseed oil. Then you increase the linseed oil in the second layer and decrease solvent. 100% solvent first time, then 80% solvent and 20% oil, and then 60% solvent and 40% oil until you're using all but oil, and then that's when it'll really go shiny when the oil dries, but it takes a long time to dry. So I'm just using a series of soft greys and greens, both with a hooker and with the emerald green. And the back, the sky, is basically the green and some greys. I mean, there's a brown in there, but I don't like the brown. I'd rather it was black. I just got a bit of black out, Mars black, I think. The brown, again, it sort of has a warmth to it that I don't really want. Again, and even I've got some green in there as well, but that's fine. It's funny, it's unpredictable, but has some lovely effects as it dries. So right here I am just using a blending brush. I'm not too worried about the sky. It seems to have its own life that comes out in any case. And you can leave some of the pink just glowing through, and obviously put sky more dense at some points. Right, so that's about all for there. Now the next bit, I get a flat scraper and I start putting the darker colours on, which the darker colours are the foregrounds for the waves. And it all happens very quickly. So you're using both the techniques with the scraper and the way that goes on, and with the brush, just pulling it through, and again leaving the background colour as well. You very quickly start to build up a sea. So I've got my scraper and I've got a little palette knife, and I'm going to start bringing in wave formations. Again, don't worry about it too much. What you want is these beautiful marks. And if you don't like it, you can let it dry and then put more layers on afterwards. I want a bit more blue in that, especially as it gets towards the foreground, and I've got some pink in it too, again to bring it, not pink, it's Crimson Lake, to bring depth to the waves in the foreground. It is just absolutely lovely how it happens. You can pull that through if you want to, or just leave it to work its little funny ways. Quite like a funny pink. I'm going to pull that through as well, and again it'll create the look of the waves as they crash and the colours change. And you sort of let it do its thing, Don't fuss over it too much. I quite like that pink, that purple. Let's see if we get a bit of green mixed with the grey. No, mixed with the purple. Because I want some sort of now it's the tricky bit. I tend to balance it precariously on the edge of the easel or hold it in my hand just to get those beautiful marks out right to the very edge. I've got a warm alizarin crimson with some grey and with some buff titanium. I'm beginning to sort of describe it as it breaks over the sand. And here comes the warmer sage green, just to suggest the colour of the water as it comes into the sand, contact over the sand. So you want it leaving areas of sand colour underneath, but also the lovely blotchy colours of water over the sands. And anywhere where you've touched it can also be softened off. Right. I do want a bit more brighter colours in the foreground, sort of more intense hues, and they will be the edges of the flat water that's flattening itself over the sand. Comes out from underneath the waves. I very carefully want to put in a bit of life into this sand, because I think it's got a bit lost there. Change my paintbrush, because I just want that sort of smoothed over. Of that colour coming through the waves as well. So I've got some burnt sienna and the crimson lake. So it's a warmer colour there, but not too much, because I still want it to be cold. Just adds a bit of interest as well. And I quite want some darks coming in underneath the edge of these. I mean, because they tend to go a bit dark where they come to the wet sand, where they wet the sand. There tends to be a raw edge where they wet the sand. So basically, I've got a few waves in, and I've got the front of the under wave, I don't know what it's called, when it comes in and touches the sands. And you could go in with a sharp stick and draw in some of these. It just adds more interest. It can be pretty random. Just a bit more of the dark, suggesting that there's the inside of waves. But I also want more of the blue, the dark blue, because I want some more waves in there. I don't want to get rid of that red completely. Let's see what a really dark purple looks like. Right, now let's get some real darks into the waves. what I find so interesting is that it determines its own character. Like, I started off thinking it'd be a bit more moody than this, and it's just come out, I don't know, quite different to what I expected, but that's good. Let me just see, I want some more interest over the fronts here. There. And again, you can take that out with marks like this. So it isn't what actually determines it, which is nice, you know. Your lovely marks through the bottom will show. Right, now I'm going to go in with a white. So I want a clean scraper, get my lovely white. It'll quickly get corrupted, so it doesn't matter that it's too white, sort of thing. So, and start adding a few bits of wave tops. And it's lovely because, again, it doesn't matter. You just pop it on thick and it'll dry, and there's lovely globular things that actually have the same sort of value as the tops of the crest of the waves. And you can make a mess of it. White, and of course that white's a bit too white, so you can dull it down, you can make it go a bit purple, you can get various colours on top of it just to bring some textures through. Here's a more pinky look. Got a bit of more warmth in there with an ochre, and just bring it into these again. So it's like the foam on the top of the waves hitting the shore. And it's all just a very nice light touch. At the end of just pull that through. Pull these through. Pull that through. I'd love it if you could just scream out to me and go, a bit more over there, Louise, a bit more over there. You've missed a bit. Right, that's it. So although the job looks like it's incredibly simple, it does actually take a bit of preparation, as in knowing your colours and knowing where it is you want to go with it, I suppose. There's a tendency, well for me, to add, and I suppose really this is where you stop. I just want to see if I just put a bit of white in the background, does that lift it? Am I losing the depth of it? Just to break up the horizon a bit. But you could always do this. You could break up the horizon after. Once it's dry, you could go over it with another layer of glazing and just soften that edge by bringing in some, you know, a background glaze or something. In any case, that's about it. There you go.